Hey guys, here's a short video on the holiday program for you guys to take home with you. Hopefully this answers all the questions that you might have and what you might need to. A couple quick notes. Number one being that this is an important time of year to really sort of get after it. It's pretty much the only time of year that as a college baseball player you get free of playing baseball, even though you'll be throwing. But it's an important time to sort of get in as much good training as you possibly can. This diagram down here shows us pretty much what happens to our body where we want is to improve our performance. So here's our performance on this axis here. We want to go from here to there. The way to do that is we stress our body with a workout, and then our body goes through this what's called supercompensation. It recovers, it gets worse, it gets better again. But each one of these training blocks is needed. And to do that, we're going to do a simple A and B program where there's just 2 different days. It's simple, but it's not easy. If you go and follow the schedule, you're going to get 12 total workouts, assuming that you give yourself the proper rest and time and relaxation that you need, and the food and the sleep that we'll talk about a little bit in these times in between. So 12 workouts over the 3 weeks it's going to be tough, but it'll provide some great benefits. Whenever you have to do some on-field throwing stuff or taking BP, taking ground balls, you would ideally perform that before you go weight training. So you'd warm up, you'd throw, you'd do your sprints, and then you would go ahead and lift after that. So again, whenever possible, combined with the throwing. Here's a look at the ideal schedule that I mentioned before. On the left here, simply going every other day. This is we go on the 14th, we take the 15th off, we do the 16th. So every other day, even gives us Christmas Day off, as well as New Year's Eve. This would give you a total of 12 workouts. If you needed to, once in a while, take 2 days off in a row, like this is a Saturday-Sunday combo. I did this a couple times through. This would give you 10 workouts. You can kind of come up with any split in between. If you feel as though you do need to take 2 days off, if you're starting to see your performance kind of go down, or you're not feeling all that energetic, take it if you need it. But you can also go into the gym and not just have to try to crush a workout, and you can kind of go in at 75%, which would be better than taking it off altogether. If you can do an AM and a PM split, that would be ideal. In terms of in the AM is when you would go outside, throw, sprint, whatever baseball activities you have, give it a break, a couple hours, 4 at the minimum would be sort of ideal, and the more the better. And then in the PM, you would go do your weight training. And the off days here are not just like sit around and do nothing, but they're your recovery days, which we'll talk about in a second. So here is workout A. Like I said, it's just going to be A and B, but they are fairly long workouts. Starting with kind of a little power circuit here. If you happen to be going from on-field throwing right into the weight room, you could put this into your on-field workout if you needed to. After the A's, the power workout, we're going to do a little mini circuit here where our concentration is on these isometric exercises, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. But we do 3 sets of these guys, and then the C's are actually kind of where we get into our sort of our big money lifts here. In this case, would be the deadlift and the floor press. After that, we would do the rear foot elevated split squats and sideline external rotations, going through the D's and the E's. What you'll see here is there's not a ton of volume, even though there's a ton of exercises. We're never really doing 4 to 5 sets, and even at the end here, it's just 2 sets here. So what we're trying to do here is keep the volume down while ensuring that our intensity can sort of be kept up. So we've been deadlifting for quite a while and floor pressing. Even on these exercises here, we're only doing 2 sets, so make them count. As always, we see the tempo here. We're going to talk about this one in a second, and then the rest periods along the side. And finally down here at the build your own circuit. This is if you have the time and the energy to keep doing a little bit of extra work if you needed to. If you don't end up doing this, no big worries, and if you're not feeling the greatest, this is the first thing to go. Make sure you kind of start from the top down and get those important ones down. B workout, again, just as long, same setup. We got power, and then we got an isometric circuit here for the split squats, and then our big lifts of the day here are going to be front squat and incline presses, followed by another tough one with walking lunges, some seated rows, and again the build your own circuit. Same concept. The isometric lifts that I was talking about before that are going to be B1 on either day. On one day we have a split squat, on the other day we have a goblet squat. So how I want them to be performed is not exactly like this video, but I put the video in just to show us what the split squat's going to look like. But the tempo is going to be 3 seconds down. So you take 3 seconds to descend, just like we had in the last phase of the Smith machine. You would take a 2-second pause at the bottom with your knee just an inch above the ground, and you have to look like a statue, and when you stop it has to be like you're stopping like a brick. So you come to a very sudden stop, you hang on that position, look powerful, completely steady, and then 90-90 position. If I'm looking from the side, this knee is going to be bent at 90 degrees, and so is the back one. So you hang out in the bottom position for 2 seconds, and then you try to explode on the way up without losing form. So again, we can kind of go heavy but not too heavy on this one, because again, we need to be able to sort of control that weight and do the exact tempo of 3 seconds down, 2-second pause at the bottom, and then up, and then right back down to it again. Again, we're not doing a ton of reps on this one, but it is important to really get that control in that isometric phase of this exercise, which is where you're holding it. The other day we would be doing it with the goblet squat. So at the bottom of the goblet squat, you're going to look like this picture. You're hanging out here for 2 seconds, completely still, completely steady. You're coming down at roughly the tempo this guy's coming down, maybe even a little bit faster, but 3 seconds on the way down. Pause here for 2 seconds, and then explode up like this guy's doing. Big notes on this one: you got to be your chest up and look straight ahead. And again, we're trying to explode up, so again, this is making us heavy but not too heavy. Remember, you have either deadlifts or front squats after these exercises, so we're not going to kill ourselves with this one by making it a heavy lift, but being able to come down and again stop and look like a statue for 2 full seconds is the most important part. The days where you're going to be doing sprint workouts, here is the layout. So again, if you would do these on the days that you're going to go throw. So on field, you would go through these where you have your A1, A2, A3, just 3 sets, and then down here is kind of where we're doing the sprints. We're going to use this half kneeling sprint start. I like this sort of method because it works a little bit of strength training at the same time. So the 4 sets here, you would do one on your left side and your right side each time, and then one round would be at 10 yards, the second round 20 yards, 30 yards, and 40 yards. But again, you're going to be doing two of each of these, so you'll end up doing 8 total sprints. Always walk back, and then in between, you may as well get some cuff training in here because we need to be able to sort of take some breaks. So after each sprint, so you do your left, pushing up your left leg, run 10 yards, walk back, go up your right leg, walk back, do a set of these, and then progress to doing the 20s, the 30s, and the 40s. Here's what each of those exercises looks like. So here's our A circuit. So these little mini bounding. If you don't have little hurdles, no big deal. You can set out a couple things. But basically you can see that each hurdle gets a little bit further as we go along. This is to kind of help teach that acceleration, and it just serves as a warm-up. Here again, this guy's walking through an agility ladder. If you have one, great. If not, don't worry about it. You can use your imagination where both hands come into the same square each time, and you're just going back and forth. So you're going to do about 5 yards to your right, and then come back. So just a great core stability exercise, which really goes well with the need to keep our posture strong when we're doing our half kneeling sprints. And then also the half kneeling Pallof press here would make up this little circuit that you do 3 times. And then here's the half kneeling sprints where you're pushing off and accelerating there. Shin is angled in the direction that you want to go. You push off the ground, sprint hard for the desired number of yards. And then down here we have our half kneeling external rotation that we're going to be doing in between to take advantage of the rest. The recovery days, like I said, every other day is a recovery day, and these are just as important as the actual training, because again, if we want to see our body make that general progression to getting better, these are 100% necessary. So like I said, they're every other day. Our number 1 and number 2 sort of recovery models or assets are always going to be food and sleep. We got to make sure that we're getting enough of both of these and good quality of both of these. But on the days in between, you're going to be doing what we call sort of an active recovery rather than just passive. Passive is just you sitting on the couch, not sort of doing anything. Active is getting up and moving around and doing some little circuits that we have laid out here that aren't that difficult, but if you can get up and move around, you're going to help your blood flow increase, which is going to help the recovery process happen even faster, thus making you better. And then the recovery circuits also get the benefit of working on some other components like flexibility, mobility, and stability. What I need you to do is to get an interval timer on your phone. You're just going to set it for 30-second intervals. We're just going to use this 30 seconds on each of the circuits that I'll describe here. And the main idea is that it's always quality. We're not racing through these. It's just you get 30 seconds. You get 30 seconds at each station. Do the movement correctly. Get as much out of it as you can. 30 seconds it goes off. Move on to the next one, and just keep it going in a circuit like that, whether you're watching TV or before bed or whatever it may be. So here are our active recoveries. Try to do the stretching circuit nightly would be great. And then we have some recovery circuits here that we'll go over. These ones are a bit more sort of, these ones I want you to do on your days off. So if you did workout A on Monday, you would do this recovery session on Tuesday, you'd do workout B on Thursday, and then recovery circuit 2 on Thursday, and so on and so forth. And then the stretching one can be on a daily basis. I have the rounds down here, so again, you'd be doing 30 seconds on each one. So you would do this stretch, this one, so lat left, lat right, hip flexor left, hip flexor right, groin left, groin right, prayer lat stretch, and then you would rest and repeat. So this is actually 30 seconds off to sort of get you going to back, and then you're going to start right from the top again. And you would do 1 to 2 rounds of those. Again, you see rest and repeat at the bottom of each one. You would do 2 to 3 rounds of these other ones. So here's the stretching circuit. Here's our lat stretch. If you can actually throw your hand over top, so your palm would be sort of, your thumb would be facing down, would be sort of ideal. But you hang out, you look into that armpit, get a nice stretch on that side. Breathe into that side that's being stretched when you see him shift his hips to the end. So he's crunching this side and expanding his right side. Here we have the hip flexor stretch with the chair. Ideally, a chair is kind of what you're going to need for this particular exercise. We're going to use it up here. Just a hip flexor stretch. The closer this knee gets back to the chair, and the more your leg is going straight up and down, the more of a stretch you're going to get into the position that's comfortable for you. Half kneeling groin one, again, we've done all these ones before. Try to keep that nice flat back. His knees are in a straight line from one another, but as he pushes his back, you're going to have the tendency to kind of want to round your back, keep it flat. And then finally up here, prayer lat stretch, sinking those hips back. You're trying to get this stretch kind of in this upper back part. If you can imagine being hunched over at a computer screen, we're trying to do the opposite of that, where we're getting some extension through our T-spine. Not our lumbar spine here, not our cervical, and we're also not looking up, but keeping that nice position like that. Stretch that for a couple seconds, move back and forth, and then come back into it. So within the 30 seconds, you're going to be going through these stretches where you kind of stretch, hold for at least 5 to 10 seconds, and then do another one. Here's a recovery circuit that's aimed more at gaining mobility. So if you're a stiff guy that's not too flexible, this is the one that you can kind of give a bit more time and attention to. Here we got our stationary Spider-Man as a warm-up we've been doing all the time, holding each position. Hold that for a second, hold that for a second. 90-90 hip stretch. They call this 90-90 because this leg's bent at 90 degrees, this leg's bent at 90 degrees. He's squared up along that knee and he's moving this way, and then he's going to turn around and try to square his chest up along this line here. Again, great little stretch. Again, try to be chest up. This one might be tough. You're really going to have to put your hand out to the side to support yourself, but being chest up there and then turn. Again, this one's going to be 30 seconds on each side, so keep flowing back and forth between the two legs on this side, and then you would position yourself the other way for the next one. Down here we got push-up down dog here, so you can come in, do a nice tempoed push-up, and then really sitting back, really trying to get in through this T-spine area here again. Don't have your legs completely locked out back here. I don't want the limiting part of the stretch to be the legs back here. I would rather it to be where you feel it through your upper back. Another upper back one. You're sitting back on your heels, so your butt is right on top of your heels. You have to keep your hips 100% steady, and then you're going to see how much you can rotate these shoulders while keeping these hips 100% still for that hip-shoulder separation. Here's the next recovery circuit. This one's aimed a bit more at gaining stability. So if you find yourself to be a pretty flexible person, this might be the one that you might want to do more often than the mobility one. Anyway, it starts off with our Superman reaches, where we're trying to drive this foot back, getting as long as you possibly can, trying to create a perfectly straight line. Hold on to a broom or a bat or something like that. This is, again, one leg at a time. Within the 30 seconds, you're aiming for maybe like 4 per side, because you're really going to try to get out there nice controlled, hold it for at least a 3-second count, and then come back in. Alternating reverse lunge and reach. Step back into that lunge, and you're twisting up and over that front leg, getting a stretch in that back hip. Alternating side plank, pausing long enough for someone to take your picture, essentially pausing, proving you have that position, rotating back and forth. Again, maybe 3 to 4 per side is kind of what you're aiming for here. Alternating glute bridge, keeping this perfectly straight line from shoulders through the hips to the knees. Extend one leg out at a time, hold it. You're just trying to make sure these hips do not either drop down or shift from side to side. So when this left leg comes up, you got to make sure that the right hip does not drop and then open up to the right side. Final note is to use the fresh grade that we've been implementing before. Again, really try to take advantage of this tool. It allows you and I to communicate more so than just always kind of going through your coaches, which is fine. But again, the more I can communicate with you, the better. Any questions at all, you can send them my way on there. And also, finally, I want to see from each workout a deadlift and a front squat video, because again, these are the ones that are the biggest exercises that I want to see form and technique on, and then before sort of giving the okay to sort of go up and load. So not only show the deadlift and the front squat, but zoom in on the weights, or just say on the video how much weight you were doing, and I'll make notes on it from there. All right, thanks.